Welcome to At the Bell with Derek Poppy Roland. We have a special guest today, former junior lightweight USBA champion out of Plainfield, New Jersey. Let's get a round of applause for Mr. Harold the Shadow Knight.
All right.
What's up, Mr. Knight, man? I'm glad you decided to come on and sit down with us, man, and talk about your story and talk about your accomplishments, man. Right here, we got a little show here at the Bell. We like to get insight from former champions, talk about where they've been, what the accomplishments was, and then at the Bell is about, at the end of it, what did we do with our career. So tell me some of your accomplishments, man, with boxing. When did you start? How old were you?
Well, first and foremost, man, I want to thank you for the invite, man. I tell you, it's an honor to be on your show. Bro, you're doing big things. And so I'm happy to be on this show, man. It feels good to be talk boxing with somebody that really knows what they're doing. That. You ain't learned this from the book, bro. You've been there. You've been in that ring, amateur and pro. But, I started boxing. I was 1973, as a 9-year-old. My brother Albert Hanif brought me down to gym, which was the 2nd Street Youth Center, under the tutelage of the late great John Davenport. And so, the crazy part is, how when you have a match or competition come up, you do training. You got to train for it. You train for whatever match you're going to do. It wasn't no training for me, man. I went straight to the fight. Straight to the fight.
9-year-old, walked into the gym and they said, "Do you want to fight?"
Yep. As a 9-year-old, Trenton Powell at that time. Trenton Powell, if a lot of folks know about Trenton Powell, which was a powerhouse here in New Jersey. That
Barry Goss, right?
Oh
Barry
man,
Goss,
you know what I mean? You had Red Berry, Sammy Goss, Red Berry. You had all these guys that were good. That was from Trenton. So, my 2nd Street Youth Center, John Davenport, took myself as well as about 6 other little boys, youths, 10, 11, 12, 13, and the older brothers who were on the boxing team because we wanted to be like our big brothers. So we all went down to Trenton Powell, and I ended up fighting my first fight. Back then they called it exhibition bouts. You see what I'm saying? Nobody won, nobody lost, but you knew if you won, you knew if you lost. And I ended up fighting Robert Gist and Trenton Powell 4 times over the duration of our career.
And you remember the guy named at 9 years old?
You never forget the first guy and the last guy. I never forgot. So I fought Robert Gist, and I ended up fighting him 4 times. I ended up fighting his brother 3 times. So right from then, boxing was in my blood. I never looked back, and this was in 1973.
A 9-year-old.
9-year-old.
It's amazing, though. What you're saying is like it's a little difference how we do the young kids now. Because the youth that we do now, we don't just put them in there. But we did, and I remember that. I remember so put him in there and see what he got. And sometimes I do that here. A guy come in, I want to get in there. I will get in there.
Yeah.
Well, how you going to put him in there? He just came in the gym, and it's his first day in the gym. That's all right.
Yeah.
Put him in there. Let's see where his heart at. Because 90% of this thing is about your heart.
Yeah.
And so I could teach you all the other stuff. But it's about your heart.
And
So let me see if you got the heart to go in there and try.
Exactly.
Then I could teach you how to hold your hands, how to hold your balance, how to throw your punches. But let's work on that. So give me some of your accomplishments, man. So if you started at 9, I mean you represented in the Junior Olympics. Do you have any Junior Olympic championship?
Right. I won the Junior Olympics, New Jersey State Junior Olympics. How many times? I think 5, 6 times. Okay. And then you fight in the regionals. In the regional Junior Olympics, that means you win your state, and then you got to compete against Pennsylvania, New York, or Connecticut, something like that.
New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut.
Yeah, something like that. And then you go. Once you win that, you go as Region 1 to the nationals, wherever you go. So that means we had some power hitters. Once you win the New Jersey, and then when you win the regional, you go as one team. You got Philly fighters, you got Connecticut fighters, you got New York fighters. So you guys are powerhouse, and that was all the learning a learning experience.
That's really good for a young kid to be going through those type of competitions, because you meet a lot of people on the way.
Right.
You meet a lot of people that used to be you fight against, but now we on the same team.
Right.
And now we cheering for each other to represent each other. It's kind of like a family that sticks with you long after boxing is over.
Right. I mean, competition. What it did, it not only was competition, but what it did, it built us from boys to young men. You understand what I'm saying? Because the mentors that we had and the coaches that we had, you know, the teachers that we had, they not only were teaching us the fitness and the boxing, which, you know, boxing is like everybody and their grandfather, you know, had, you know, boxed, you know, about your uncle and had boxing gloves, you know, you had Christmas boxing gloves and everything. So what it does, it was teaching us from little boys, it was a rites of passage.
That's what Larry Hazard said. We had Larry Hazard on the show. He said, you know, you need to have this just to be able to travel to cities and stuff. You know?
It was a rites of passage because everyone's not made to be a boxer. So what it does, it teaches you sacrifice. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you to be on time. It teaches you to listen. It teaches you to eat the right things. It teaches you to stay focused. So it helped me in so many tremendous ways. It taught me to be a world traveler. You see what I'm saying? It taught me to sit down with kings and queens of countries and presidents of countries. So, you know, I just thank God in late great John Davenport and the late great Mr. Whitakers and the Fanny Grimes and the different youth centers. Second Street Youth Center was my home. That taught not only me but all the young men and young boys how to be productive in your community.
And I think it stays with you, you know what I mean? I think it stays with you, man, long after you're grown, and even if you made some mistakes in life, man, that going through that experience alone gives you something, like you said, about being a man, you know, which is important. So now you come out to Junior Olympics, because I recall seeing you fight in the Armory at the Golden Gloves, and you fought a guy, you know, Elizabeth in Plainfield was some rivals and stuff, man.
I tell you.
And I remember you and Darryl Teller going at it. My man Chief, you and Chief went at it real hard. Chief told me he believed he won. He said they gave it to him because he was the one that got the Junior Olympic experience, and he had the name, and he had the politics, and so Chief believes to this day that, you know, it could have went either way. What do you think about that fight?
Well, once again, I mean, I'm glad. That's why I'm glad they had 3 judges. That's why you have the judges. One judge is looking that way, or, you know, so the glass is half full or it's half empty. And, you know, I was just fortunate to be able to box gentlemen, guys like him, because that helped with my experience as I was coming up. Because with me just coming out of the Junior Olympics, and I believe he was already like 16, 17, I believe. I'm not for sure. But once again, the experience that I got from fighting at the Golden Gloves over at the Army, that was when the real Golden Gloves, you had that one light that would come on down. I mean, that light and that microphone would come on down, and you had a whole crowd and nothing but smoke there, and you had to walk through that crowd to get to the ring. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, them experience are lifelong experiences, and them are experience that I, like yourself, want to be able to and have, you know, more or less translated to the other youth that we have coming up now. And these are just part of our legacies, man. We have to be able to continue to teach like we were taught.
Well, so now you go through these accomplishments, you to the nationals, you know, and what made you decide to turn pro, and how old were you?
Well, I mean, you know, back then you had the Pernell Whitakers, you had the Mark Brelands, you had the Mildred Taylor, who, by the way, these guys were right in my age group. Mark Breland's obviously good friend. Pernell was very good friend. You know,
did you box with any of those guys in preparation and sparring?
You know, me and Pernell, we got it on.
Yes, Pernell, okay.
Yes, we got it on at the Ohio State Fair.
Okay, what year was that?
Man, I tell you, this had to be, we were like,
maybe because
13 years old, 12 years old, something like that. So this had to been like something like 79 or something like that.
Because 83, Davenport took me to Ohio with him.
Yes.
And I went with him there. That was a good trip. That was awesome.
That right there was Mr. Bill Cummings. Never forget that. You had the Pete Sewards. You had the Hill McKinties. This is where Emmanuel Stewart would take his strong Kronk team down there. You had the boys down in D.C. So this was learning as you go along.
What was it like? What was it like boxing Sweet Pete back then?
Oh man, at the time
was he good at that time?
Come on, man. I thought he was a whole. When I say a whole different guy out of Jersey, and then you got Norfolk, Virginia, and at that time his name was Pete. Instead of Purnell, was Pete Whitaker.
Oh, okay.
So I said, Pete Whitaker. I don't think nothing pretty good out of Virginia. I should be able to beat this guy. You feel what I'm saying? And lo and behold, Pete Whitaker was in the other corner. And we fought on even terms, but he won fair and square.
Okay,
I would say we fought on even terms, and right from then that established our friendship.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Because obviously during that time, being in that age group and in that Olympic period, which was 84 for them at the time?
84. They was 84, yeah.
So we would see each other at different tournaments, whether in Mildred Taylor, once again, being out of Pennsylvania.
You boxed with Mildred too?
No, he would be 119. I would be 125.
Okay,
You see what I'm
yeah.
saying? So once we would be in the same regional tournament, but going to the same nationals together as one team. So just learning from these guys and being around these guys and seeing the great Emmanuel Stewart, the Kronk, and it was fun, man. It was fun. Yeah, I mean, so I turned pro. Obviously, the Olympics was '84. And so what I tried to do was get a jump ahead of them guys because the team was already set.
I did the same exact thing. That's something. I turned October '87. Yeah. 88 Olympics around the corner.
Yep, exactly.
And I was like, you know what? Let me just get a jump start.
Yeah, well, when you have the Evander Holyfields, the Mark Brelands, the Purnells, the Mildred Taylors, and all them guys that already, that's your golden ticket.
Yeah, that was a rough year right there.
Once you turn pro already, you're going to get them big contracts already.
Right.
And so what I did, I turned pro in '83. Which the Olympics was '84. So I wanted to at least get a jump ahead of them guys a year, which was maybe 2 fights, maybe 2 or 3 fights before these guys. And so I turned pro in '83.
Okay.
And I believe 21 years old.
What was your first debut at? Where you fight at?
Atlantic City.
Oh, okay. What casino? What casino?
I believe it was either the Sands.
The Sands?
Or the Tropicana. I take that back. Tropicana because I used to fight Don Elbon. I used to fight on his cards all the time.
Yeah.
Don Elbon, if you guys are some type of historian or not, Don Elbon was one of the guys that was promoted Muhammad Ali. Was one of the guys that promoted.
Okay.
He's the one that.
So who was your manager? How did you get into? What was the transition like to turn pro? Like just. How did you know who to go with? What your manager experience was with?
Right. Good question. Back then, my first manager, and I'm sure you know, because I'm glad we're talking because it brings back a lot of good memories, a lot of good people that's not here anymore. When I first turned professional, my first manager was Curtis Ford.
Curtis Ford. Oh, man. That was Imamu Mayfield's guy.
That's why I'm glad
Curtis
we're talking.
Curtis Ford was good.
Because it brings back so many good memories and good people.
Oh, he was a good dude. He was a good dude.
And so Curtis Ford was my manager. It was, he was once again my manager, and John Davenport obviously was my trainer and coach. So, we did pretty good. We had some backers out at Long Island who Curtis Ford brought aboard. And I tell you, I just wanted to get a jump ahead of them Olympic guys, the Purnell Whitakers and them guys.
I thought you was with Lenny Shaw. I thought Lenny Shaw had the Bells bondsman, right? Lenny Shaw was the Bells bondsman, right?
Yeah, I went with Lenny Shaw later on.
Oh, later on, okay.
After, because Curtis Ford passed away.
Yeah, he had the brain aneurysm.
Brain aneurysm.
Yeah,
and once he passed away, because Curtis Ward, number one, a lot of people that didn't know him. He was very, very close to the late great Howard Davis.
Yeah, they was
you
good
understand
friends.
What I'm saying? So, these guys were a very integral part of not only in my career but in the greater scheme of boxing.
So the era you grew up with, there's a lot of good fighters, man. Man. Who were some of the big names you fought?
Well, the big names that I fought, let me tell you some of the big names that I sparred.
Okay.
Who taught me, and I learned off these guys. Livingston Bramble, who was the lightweight champion of the world.
I used to spar him too, yeah.
I tell you, I almost broke my doggone nose, I tell you.
Yeah, he was a rough guy to
Howard
fight
Davis was another guy that I used to spar.
Yeah,
he was so quick, man. It was like his jab was so quick, it would just pop. It was like a wet, when you're a wet towel at the end of, that's how his jab was. Howard Davis, who got the Val Barker Award in the 1976 Olympics with Ray Leonard in him. So he was the greatest. MVP boxer, doing a great team with the Spinks brothers, all them guys. So, I sparred them guys, and then when in my professional career, I was 20-0, 19-0. Before I got my first world title shot, 15 knockouts. I became
19-0. You was 19-0, so you got rated. You rated in the top 10.
Right. I became the USBA champion after 15 fights when I fought Kenny Bazemore down there in the city.
Yeah, Bazemore.
Man, it was a a seesaw battle.
I watched that. I watched that on TV.
It was a seesaw battle. He could fight. He was hitting me with some good shots, but it was one of them times, and I'm sure you can remember this. It's just sometimes you in a fight that no matter what happens, you're just not going to lose that night. I hear you. Everything that clicked right that night, and Kenny Bazemore, man, out of D.C., out of that area where the Ray Leonard and them was from, them boys were good, man. And he stunned me a few times, but I just was not going to be denied that night. I ended up knocking him out. I believe it was 7th, 8th round. Yeah. And on ESPN, it was one of the best, most gratifying wins in my career. And in turn, that put me on the road to being a #1 contender to Rocky Lockwood's world title, IBF world title.
Oh, that was shown on CBS or regular
ABC.
ABC. You and Rocky Lockridge, man, ABC. Guys. Another one we lost Rocky Lockridge not too long ago too. Yeah. That was something. I was watching you as a young kid, looking up to you guys. Like, and he fighting on TV. Like that was amazing to see you doing that. Because whether you know it or not, you kind of gave us something to look forward to. Like if he could do it, we could do it. That's how I felt about it. Like now, he's a few years older than me, but if he could do that, I could do that. So it was very inspirational.
Well, see, that's what this whole thing is about. The mentors and the teachers and the coaches and the trainers that we had. The late great Don Givens, the John Davenports, the different coaches that.
Jackie Pugh was in that thing. Clarence Devon. We had a lot of guys that gave their life, man, for us and did a lot of things, man.
We took the time to not only taught us how to box, but they were teaching us how to be strong young men. And took the time out of their busy schedules to, they stayed on our case, man. They stayed on our case.
That's why we do what we do here, because we're trying to give it back.
Yes.
So, okay, now, you had a career, you defended the title a few times. Right. What happened where your career ended? What happened?
Well, I tell you, this is how God works. Everything happens, for a reason. When I fought for the world title, April of '88, for the junior lightweight IBF world championship, one of the last 15 rounders against Rocky Lockridge. I lost unanimous decision against him, and unfortunately, that was my last fight.
Okay.
I was forced in retirement. I had something I was born with, a cyst-like lesion in my brain. That's something I was born with, and this was after having 136 fights. I had 116 amateur fights, 103 wins, 13 losses. And then 20 professional fights. And then I lost for the world title, and then I got back into shape to start fighting again, like in September, and went to go take the MRI, CAT scans, and everything over in New York, and because the tests are more stringent, and that's when you had some abnormalities came up. But that was God's way of saying.
After all of those, so you fought all those right there with something that they missed in your brain. Wow.
Well, it was something that I was born with that it's benign. It doesn't get bigger, it doesn't dissolve. And it was a situation where I failed New York. I'm from New Jersey. I can come to New Jersey, and I passed them tests. But once again, you got to have character, honor, and integrity.
Okay.
Mr. Larry Hazard is one of my mentors, one of my teachers, who obviously was the commissioner who still is the commissioner.
He still is the commissioner
of New Jersey, and so that would have been like backstabbing him in his back to try to come over to New Jersey to try to get licensed and probably pass, and then God forbid something I would have got hurt.
But like you said, the character, the integrity, and that
I was taught. Taught to have honor. I was taught to to be able to you don't stab people in the back. Yeah. Even though in this boxing business it's known for doing that.
Yeah, nowadays. But before we used to have a lot of honor amongst each other and stuff.
You take care of people that take care of you.
Right.
And so to make a long story short, God closed the window, but He opened the door for me. He opened a door for me. I was forced into retirement in '88, and then I started working for the great Lennox Lewis in 1989.
Now, before you go into that,
yes.
What was your emotional like, man?
Right.
Like, wow, I can't fight no more. Like, cause a lot of people, man, that make the wrong choices, wind up in jail, wind up, on drugs, wind up, if I can't fight no more, like, what I'm gonna do? And I never heard nothing bad about you, never heard that Hal's locked up or Hal out there selling drugs or how that. So that's that integrity that we learned from the sport.
Right.
So what was that before you started getting with Lennox Lewis? Was it like?
Yeah. Well, good question. I'm glad you're asking these questions. I'm glad I'm on your show because once again, I never really talked about it. It was a couple articles in the boxing magazine because a lot of people was wondering what happened. But what it did, I was obviously in the dumps. I was, brokenhearted. I've been doing it ever since I was 9 years old. So now you fight for the world title and you give the world champion a really good fight. It could have went either way. It was a close fight. And him even saying that you will become the world champion. It just wasn't going to be tonight against him. I never forgot him saying that. And that just actually made me more determined to win it. But once again, God has other plans for you. He has other plans. And when that happened, I didn't want to have nothing to do with boxing. I didn't want to look at boxing. I didn't want to hear boxing. I didn't want to see boxing because I was brokenhearted. My dream was snatched away from me. But you know what? What it did, that, and sometimes what they call it, a setback gives you time for a comeback.
I'm gonna share with you, man. Really, I was suicidal, man. Like, I was really like, if you can't fight, why do I need to live?
Yeah.
Like that's how deep it was when it came to me to where like you can't fight no more. So what the hell I'm going to do with my life?
But you know what? Like we was talking earlier, the trainers and coaches and the mentors that came into our lives, what they were doing, they were teaching us back then to teach now.
So that we will be have a impact on the youth coming behind
the
us.
Youth now to planting the seeds. I didn't know that back then. You didn't know it back then. They were teaching us because once again, this journey, this journey we call life. It's not going to be perfect all the time. You see what I'm saying? It's not going to be. I'm not going to say I was a perfect guy. I ain't going to say I didn't run the streets. I'm not going to say, I didn't do certain things. But I was fortunate that I had a good family base to, not get caught up, get locked up, to be out there selling drugs. And I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not saying my brothers in the main do it. I ain't gonna say my friends wasn't out there doing that. But what they did, they steered me to say, hey, I might be doing this, but you ain't gonna do this.
That's
Get from
funny.
out of here.
I gotta give so many brothers from Elizabeth, the older brothers that's older than me from Elizabeth.
Yes.
They kept me off the corner. Get off the damn corner. What are you doing out here?
Exactly.
Like, get your and even though they were doing it, they would make sure I gotta give some that right there to the brothers in Elizabeth. Hey, well, when you get out of here, to the point they wouldn't even do that in front of me. Like, what are you talking about?
Because that was the respect. Because once again, we were that light, that gleaming flame inside of them. You understand what I'm saying? So when they seen us, like I used to see you on Tuesday Night Fights on, you know what I mean?
USA.
And so USA. And so what happens when they seen us fighting, we were fighting for them. We were fighting for them to get out of the hood, to represent, to say that that these guys are aspiring stars. They're fighting for their family. So, it's that journey of life that we go through, and everything's not going to be perfect. So I'm fortunate that I was blessed to have boxing to not only represent me and my family, but other people, even to this day now.
Well, now it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. You accepted it.
Right.
Now, you and
my career over has fighting. That means
fighting.
I had to train them more.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it really was something. I know two for sure that I know closely too, which would be you and Buddy McGirt, who really, really did well.
Right.
From after the careers, Buddy did so good after the careers. He was with Gotti. He had so many champions that he was training, and how he was. You're in the corner of the heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis. How did that happen? Here you is, your career is over, and God has blessed you to work in the corner of Lennox Lewis.
Yes. Once again, God closed that window, but He opened the door. And this is what John Downpour. John Downpour was a godsend. He already knew. Fortunately, what he more or less knew of all the young men that he had under his tutelage. Oh, he's gonna go far. Unfortunately, he's gonna go but so far. So he knew, and he read people. And John Downpour was the one that brought me on board with Lennox Lewis in 1989. Lennox Lewis won the Olympics in 1988. And John Davenport became his first professional trainer in '89. When I, once again, in '88, April '88 was my last fight. Started back training and fight again. I couldn't, forced to retirement. John Davenport asked me, actually it was Albert Mills, who was another one of my mentors.
Albert Mills,
where the job was actually for Albert Mills, Albert Still Mills, who's another icon out of Plainfield, who had wars with the Teddy Whites over here.
Teddy White was from Irvington. Yeah.
And so and this is where the love and the respect and everything, the networking come in with. The job was actually for Albert Mills to be assistant to John Davenport to train the 1988 Olympic heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis. Albert Mills actually turned the job down. He couldn't do it because at the time he had just got married. And he had the two sons and everything, and it would have been a big jump for him to relocate over to UK, to England.
So it's like almost like your steps kind of ordered for you to be right in there.
What God had for you is for you.
It's for you.
If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. You know what I mean? And being in my old age, I learned that to say, you know what? Take your time, be patient. Don't worry about certain things, because if it's meant for you to be, for it to be, it will be.
That's a good lesson. That's a good lesson.
And so I moved to London January of 1990. I never forgot it because that's when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. I think he beat him, January 25th of 1990, something like that. I never forgot it. That's when I moved to London. And the rest is history with Lennox Lewis.
And other trainers, other guys that you've been working with out in England and them down, right?
Right.
What kind of guy? Who you working with now?
At the present, right now, here's 2021. I've been working with Dillian White, the WBC #1 mandatory contender, as well as the WBC interim champion, Dillian White. So I've been with him for over a year.
What weight is that?
I did heavyweight.
Oh, heavyweight.
Okay. We're going to fight your boy Tyson Fury.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You better.
I'm gonna get some tickets from you for that. I need two
better,
tickets, man.
You better get it now.
I'm gonna have to get you. I'm gonna have to holler at you, man, for that,
Come
man.
on, man.
2 tickets for that.
That's what I'm telling you. So I've been, presently right now, we get ready to go back to training camp at the beginning of January.
Where's the training camp at?
The training camp is over in Portugal.
Okay.
Over in beautiful, relaxing.
What God
Portugal.
done for you, man? You came out your career, you traveling all over the world, you getting all these experiences, you're doing what you love, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Man, God is good,
awesome,
you know what I mean?
man.
But once again, it's also, I'm so fortunate to be on your show because it might looks like it all peaches and cream too, but also, you have a lot of pitfalls, and that's why I'm here on your show to let the upcoming fighters, upcoming trainers, coaches, or whatever, let them know that whatever you do, put your heart and soul and your passion into it. You got to be real because once again, when you in that boxing ring, just like Joe Frazier used to say, what's in the dark is gonna come out in the light.
That's right.
You see what I'm
Ain't no
saying?
shortcuts. Ain't no
so
shortcuts.
what you do in the dark, when you get up there at 5 o'clock in the morning, you get your behind out there and running, and then you the first one in the gym and you the last one to leave. That right there is going to tell when the lights come on. You understand what I'm saying? So I try to tell all these young boxers and, even these trainers, and it's so ironic, and I'm flipping it real quick and we're going to go back to that, is Malik Scott. He's the trainer of Deontay Wilder. And I used to train him right here in this Bayway gym, Malik Scott.
Oh, yeah?
So it's a small circle in this boxing game. So
I remember him. Yes. I don't remember him fighting though.
Right.
So
Malik became.
But what do you think about that? Being that you brought that up, and you kind of read in my mind. Because I'm just going to go into what you want to give the youth and coming up, and you're doing it already. But what did you think about the Deontay Wilder and them firing Mark Breland? Now, because I'm still a little bit not feeling too good about that. You know what I mean? I think that was
once again. It's so crazy that boxing is one of the sports where when the fighter, us being fighters, we're fighters, we're always gonna be fighters, and you have some fighters now when they lose, they blame the trainer.
But do you think that Mark should have stopped it?
Well, that's my point I'm trying to make right there. Mark did the right thing. I would do the same exact thing. This man is bleeding from his ear.
I think so.
You understand what I'm saying? When you bleeding from your ear, something's wrong.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? So now, see what we do, we've been in the game right there, and what I do, I break down the fight. If that was the second fight, look at the first fight. Here it is. Tyson Fury actually really beat him the first fight. Here it is. If you knock a man down 2 or 3 times, and then he still get up, and it's still a draw. Come on now. So you fast forward to the second fight, bang. He was putting it on. He was, both guys were down, but he was putting
I saw you out that fight. I saw you in Vegas with that fight. We was in Vegas together.
Exactly.
And I saw you there.
Exactly. So now, you got the 7th round in, and boom, Mark did the right thing by stopping the fight because he probably, you never know. He wouldn't have been able to fight the 3rd fight.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I'm gonna try to get Mark up here so we can kind of hear what Mark got to say about it.
You need to. You need to.
Because I don't really don't rest too good with me. So you fire Mark Breland, like here's a guy with all the credentials in the world, who knows it, did it better than anybody that we could say did all you could do in boxing. And then you fire this guy. I don't know.
But once again, that was just all smoke screen. He was hiding. When I say hiding some things, it was a deeper root than that. He just wanted to use Mark as a scapegoat. You understand what I'm saying? But once again, it happens. It happens in this game. Everybody that knows Mark, they know his integrity, his character. They know what type of trainer he is, and Mark, being a good friend, he's going to be all right.
So, what do you really want to give us? One thing that you will give us now before we roll up, man, and your experiences, your outcomes. What are you really something you can give the youth, man? Tell them. I know you gave them a lot already, but what would you give them? Something else you're going to give these young up-and-coming fighters that's coming up here, getting ready to go professional, got managerial issues, contract issues. They're making a lot of money now. Not money like we was making. So what do we give these little guys, man? They can try to make boxing more what's the word I can use? More enjoyable for the people,
Yeah,
for the peers and everything.
Well, you want to, number one, you want to take your career seriously. You want to, the longevity of a boxer, longevity of an athlete is not long. So especially with boxing, because number one, you throwing punches, you taking punches. So you want to be able to take your career seriously. You want to have people that really care about you, that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. You want to have a good attorney. You want to have a good advisor. You understand what I'm saying? And save your money. Save your money.
Good stuff.
Save your money and take care of your health.
That's
what I
good
mean?
stuff.
Take care of your health.
Listen, this is At the Bell with Derek Poppy Roland. You've heard it from Harold the Shadow Knight. Save your money. Invest.
Yes.
Train hard.
Yes.
Your character. This is more than just a sport. This is your life we're talking about. This is At the Bell with Derek Poppy Roland and Harold the Shadow Knight. Like, share, subscribe. At the Bell, Derek Poppy Roland, Harold the Shadow Knight.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate it.
Sir.
You did.
You're my brother.
You did excellent.